Welcome to NACTV Reads the News. My name is Cathy McGrath, and I'm one of many volunteers that help create programming for our station. NACTV can be seen on MTS Channel 30 or 1030, Westman Cable Channel 17, Bell Satellite Channel 592, or online at nactv.tv. These programs are made possible by our volunteers, staff, advertisers, as well as donations made by you, the viewers. If you are enjoying your NACTV experience, please consider supporting us by either donation or volunteering. You can contact our office at 204-476-2639 or at nactv@wcgwave.ca. And today's issue of the Neepawa Banner and Press is for Friday, April 19th, 2024. And on the cover is pictured control burn at Neepawa's Riverbend Park. A preventative burn was being conducted by the Neepawa Volunteer Fire Department in the Riverbend Park area on the evening of April 15th. This area is one of those that receives a preventative burn each year, with trucks on standby per the fire department's regular safety measures. The wind was going a different direction this year, so we had to tackle it a bit differently this time, said Fire Chief Eve Gillis. But the burn was nice and clean. This area is one that can be difficult to burn, but the 2024 conditions favorably dry and allowed the department to conduct the burn with ease. More controlled burns are being planned for the coming week if the dry forecast holds. And a small tax increase proposed for the 2024 Neepawa budget by Owen Devereux. A municipal property tax increase less than the current rate of inflation has been put forward in Neepawa's new budget. On Tuesday, April 16th, Town Council reviewed the details for its 2024 financial plan. If the document, as it currently stands, receives final approval from Council later this spring, the municipal tax levy for local ratepayers will increase by 2.1%. For the average homeowner, that means they will pay an additional $52.88 in taxes per $300,000 value of their assessed property value. That's $17.63 per $100,000. While 2.1% is slightly higher than the 1.5% increase that was approved in last year's budget, it's still lower than Canada's current rate of inflation, which was 2.9% in March. The operating expenditures within the 2024 financial plan total $9,495,213.05, while all utility capital purchases are estimated at $6,877,157. The largest single expenditure for utilities this year will be the water and sewer infrastructure in the new Northeast development near the new hospital, with a cost of $3,542,899. As for capital purchases in 2024, plans are in place to pave the fire department's parking lot, estimated cost of $150,000. Other notable purchases planned include increased road construction, $769,562, drainage and roadwork upgrades, $261,001, and the cemetery project at $150,000. The 2024 grant distribution. For this year, $161,306.75 has been proposed for grant requests for 15 local organizations. The largest individual grant distributed this year will be $103,000 for the Yellowhead Center. Other organizations currently slated to receive support from the program include $15,000 to Arts Forward, $15,000 to Touchwood Park, $5,000 to the Neepawa Baseball and Softball, $5,000 Neepawa Salvation Army, $4,000 to the Roxy Theatre, $3,126.75 to Hand Senior Services, $2,500 Beautiful Plains Doctor Recruitment, $2,500 NACTV, $1,500 Citizens on Patrol, $1,500 Neepawa in Bloom and Horticultural Society, $1,000 to Margaret Lawrence, $900 to the Beautiful Plains Museum, $780 to the Lions Club, and $500 to Philcan, Filipino Heritage Day celebrations. The first reading of the 2024 budget was given and approved on Tuesday, April 16th. Second and third reading will likely occur at the next council meeting on Tuesday, May 7th. And continuing, Smile Cookie supports Neepawa's food bank expansion by Owen Devereaux. A very ambitious project from our local Salvation Army Neepawa Community Ministries Center, NCMC, is getting a little bit of extra help this spring from Tim Hortons and their Smile Cookie campaign. Each year, Tim Hortons across Canada donate proceeds from their Smile Cookie sales to a worthy local charity or community groups. For Neepawa, this year's recipient will be the Community Ministries Center for its plan to expand their local services. A shopping-style food bank. The NCMC has agreed to a lease of more space at its current location at 342 Mountain Avenue. The planned expansion would see the creation of a larger, more shopping-style type of local food bank. It will also include a community kitchen, expanded training space, new offices, and a reception area. While this project is something to be very excited about, Community Ministries Director Amanda Nightingale said, it is also, unfortunately, a necessity. Use of the Neepawa Food Bank has increased exponentially over the last few years. In 2020, the NCMC assisted 15 households on average a month. So far this year, the NCMC is serving an average of 54 households a month. Nightingale said this expansion is really going to showcase what they actually do to the general public, because they are so much more than just the thrift store. The thrift store allows us to be able to do all the things that we do, but the food bank is something that impacts so many local families and individuals on a daily basis, said Nightingale. This will allow us to expand our food bank. Right now, we have seen a 260% increase in food bank usage over 4 years. This expansion will allow us to serve people in a much more dignified space. They will be able to select their groceries in a shopping-style food bank, so people will be able to choose what they actually want in their hampers. Thankful for support. Nightingale also explained that the project has been in the works for quite some time, having already received grant dollars through Agricultural Canada, the Farm Credit Corporation, and Harvest Manitoba. She said they are thankful to those groups as well as Tim Hortons for supporting them. This year, we are so excited and so thankful to have been accepted as the recipients of the Tim Hortons Smile Cookie campaign. Smile Cookies can start pre-ordering right away, and we'll be out there canvassing for the next few weeks. Those interested in making a pre-order for Smile Cookies can get in touch with Amanda at 204-476-5869 or order online at timhortonswestman.ca. A warm hug for winter. Neepawa Newcomers Coat Room continues to gather donations by Owen Devereaux. And pictured above, Leanne Hopkins and Liesl Milligan of the Neepawa Newcomers Coat Room attended the Community Information Expo on Tuesday, April 9th, to share details related to the program. As well, they discussed their new initiative, the Sponsor a Coat program. On the left, you can see the logo. Although the weather outside has many of us thinking of barbecues, swimming pools, and campfires, Leanne Hopkins and Liesl Milligan of the Neepawa Newcomers Coat Room are already looking ahead to the return of winter. More importantly, the duo were thinking about providing a proverbial warm hug to those who are unfamiliar with just how cold it can get out there. On Tuesday, April 9th, the Newcomers Coat Room was presented at the Neepawa Community Information Expo. Their booth was accepting donations of new or gently used coats, along with monetary support. As well, they were using the event as a chance to introduce themselves to those who may still be unfamiliar with the project. Neepawa Newcomers Coat Room was started last year through a partnership between the town of Neepawa, several local church groups, Settlement Services, and Arts Forward. The goal was to ensure immigrants residing in Neepawa are properly prepared for their first Canadian winter experience. Hopkins said last year's efforts on that goal were very successful. The community response was phenomenal, and we were able to give away 201 winter coats, said Hopkins. You can sponsor a winter coat. Hopkins also shared with the Banner and Press details on a brand new initiative for the Neepawa Newcomers Coat Room, the Coat Sponsorship Program. The Neepawa Newcomers Coat Room Board looks for the quality winter coats on clearance. We try to get the highest possible quality for the lowest cost, so we have purchased coats in advance of next winter. So what we need now is a sponsor. The average cost of the coat is $50. So you can sponsor a full winter coat for $50, or you can contribute to a group sponsorship, which is $10 towards a coat, stated Hopkins. Further information on the sponsorship program can be found at the Neepawa Newcomers Coat Room's Facebook page. In conclusion, Hopkins thanked the community for its overwhelming response to the project. She said the newcomers were so appreciative of this endeavor. There were so many smiles of appreciation all around. It was very well received, and we're looking forward to doing it again. So, looking back into the past by Casper Warren. And pictured is a poster from the Roxy Theatre in 1974, and it was Boot Hill. This advertisement for the Roxy Field was in the April 18th edition of the Press, and it's the Trinity Boys are back and as wild as ever. Boot Hill, where nobody died of natural causes. So, 125 years ago, and again, the section for March is missing for the archive, so it's a May date. May 24th, 1899. Charlie Wynn, the genial proprietor of Commercial Hotel, entertained about 40 people to supper after the play on Monday night. When the sumptuous repast had been partaken of, Mr. Leeson called upon Mayor Davidson for a few remarks. The mayor said the town ought to feel proud of the efforts displayed by our young people in the opera Trial by Jury, and calculated that something heavier might be looked for in the near future. Mr. Leeson proposed the Queen and thanked the host and hostess for their kindness, and the party dispersed after having spent a very pleasant time. 100 years ago, 1924, Glencairn. O. Chapman has moved to the farm in the Glenhope district, which he purchased from W.H. Clements. All he wants now is a housekeeper, then everything will be complete. The Minnedosa Tribune has entered its 42nd year of publications. Congratulations! The press has found that the first 25 years of publication is the hardest. After that, everything begins to run more smoothly. The sad story of an egg vendor was told at the Board of Trade on Tuesday evening. Local merchants do not pay cash for eggs, but give credit tokens which are accepted as cash in payment for goods at any time. The vendor had over $5 worth of this tin money, but could not take advantage of an aluminum offer at 98 cents cash at another store. Why not cooperate on this commodity currency? 75 years ago, 1949. Bill 94, presented in the legislature, calls for a constituency to be named Norfolk Beautiful Plains and to include Rosedale, Langford, and North Cypress municipalities, the town of Neepawa, and the town of Carberry. 1974. Lou Kleiman, well known to residents of McCreary District, will be the director of the Neil Simon comedy The Odd Couple, which will be performed by the Herzelia Players at the Centennial Concert Hall in Winnipeg. Born in McCreary, Lou spent his younger years in the small northwestern community. When he was 21, he went to New York City and enrolled in the American Academy of Dramatic Art. After graduation, he worked as an actor in New York until his father's sudden death brought him home to McCreary to manage the family store. He returned home with his New York bride, Estelle, and together they operated the general store and raised a family of 4. But leaving New York didn't mean leaving his acting career behind. It wasn't long before McCreary had its first dramatic society, and then its first drama festival, and eventually a touring company under the direction of Lou. In the early 60s, Lou and family moved to Winnipeg, where he established his own company, Standard Knitting Mills Limited. His interest in theatre continued unabated, and he has appeared at Rainbow Stage on CBC radio and television. The Odd Couple will be the third play Lou has directed at the concert hall. And another item from 1974, pictured. These four were declared trophy winners after a good bout of bowling at Evans Lanes in 1974. Showcased in the April 18th edition of the press for that year, the individuals pictured are Margaret Hall, high average, June Tremaine, high single, Margaret Haywood, high 3, and Gladys Jones, most improved player. 20 years ago, 2004, for the second year in a row, the town is hiring 2 sharpshooters to keep the crow population under control this summer. Fewer Manitoba potato producers will be growing spuds this year after Carberry's Midwest Food Products canceled 26 producers' supply contracts. The cancellations were made following slumping sales in the U.S. market, brought on by the low-carbohydrate diet craze popularized by Dr. Robert Atkins. And on the Roxy Theatre this weekend, April 19th and 20th at 7:30, One Life. Sir Nicholas Nicky Winton, a young London broker who, in the month leading up to World War II, rescued over 600 children from Nazi-occupied Czechoslovakia. And next weekend, Godzilla and Kong, the New Empire. And continuing, letters are the editorial by Ken Waddell, right in the center. And again, the views expressed in this column are the writer's personal views and are not to be taken as being the view of the Banner and Press itself. Local is essential. It seems the ultimate goal of business corporation is to dominate the world, or at least their home country. I have written recently about the dreadful downside of big corporations' effect on the newspaper industry. This week, I want to address some history and how corporations swallowed and then spit out many newspapers. I also want to show how that trend is affecting other parts of our local communities. In early years of newspapers, an ambitious person or a couple of partners would buy a printing press, build, buy or rent a shop on Main Street, and start producing newspapers. The early days encountered some failures and setbacks, but many newspapers survived. It wasn't unusual for every town to have a local newspaper. As years moved on, some towns grew, some stood still or shrank, and newspapers were then only in somewhat larger towns. Through the 1960s and 70s, the number of newspapers across North America was fairly stable. In the 1970s and 80s, the smaller local newspaper owners started to anticipate what retirement might look like. Some sold out to other private small-town owners, some faded away, and some sold to corporations. Through the 80s and even into the 90s, corporate ownership wasn't so bad. The remnant or legacy staff stayed on. Sometimes former owner family members worked for the big corps, and things clicked along fairly well. Then the corporations figured out that they could amalgamate, sell and accumulate into larger and larger chains. They didn't need local publishers. All they needed was big money. The hedge funds took over, but didn't know anything about publishing and didn't seem to care. Corporations saw newspapers as a cash cow they could keep milking with less staff. The older, more experienced newspaper people soldiered on, but eventually the corporate chokehold eventually killed many papers. Manitoba lost 20 papers. Canada lost many dozens. The U.S. lost over 2,600. Fortunately, new startups and some buybacks from corporations have been taking place, but sadly, it's too late for some communities. The corporate world is a hungry beast and has taken over another piece of local endeavor, and that is gambling. In the world of sports betting, it has gone big-time corporate, and none of the money stays local. TV ads blast away about the magic joy of sports gambling, but the profits go to corporations, not local groups. As far as government-run gambling is concerned, I was told by a businessman that he won't have video lottery machines in his establishment because so much of the money leaves the community. Except for a tiny bit, the profits all go to government, and it feels like those profits are never seen again. In contrast, the same businessman said he supports the local hockey 50-50 draws, the local charity lotteries. Why the different view? Pretty simple. With a local 50-50, all the money stays local. The local organizations and the winner basically split the proceeds. The same is true for local lotteries. Often the winners are local, and local groups keep the rest to fund their organization. We encourage our communities to buy local whenever possible. Corporations force people to drive to the next biggest center to get what you need or want. If you don't think that shift is important, dig into your memory bank or look up in the local history books to see how many businesses used to be in our small towns. There are many villages in the paper's coverage area that no longer even have a grocery store. If you are currently driving by your local grocery store to buy in a larger center, just ask yourself, is a few cents savings worth the trip? Consider the price of gas and the risk of losing a local business. Is it really worth it? The overall message, be it newspapers, fundraising, or groceries, keep it local. You will be glad you did. Be sure you support your local community as much as you possibly can. People who have done so have always been glad they did. Excuse me. And Home Buddies from Rita Friesen. As the snow melted. Growing up on a farm, spring brought its own round of responsibilities. As the snow melted, retreating until it only lingered in deeply shaded corners, the debris hiding under the cover of white was fully revealed, and work to beautify the yard began. With Mum at the helm, it began in earnest. The larger items that had been casually dropped, usually by Dad, the less tidy of my parents, were put back in their place, for in Mum's world, everything had a place. The raking of the inner yard was systematic, almost following the disappearing snow. Once that space was tidy and clean, the work moved on to the larger, unfenced middle yard. Here it was more bale twine, not plastic. I'm that old. And the occasional fallen branch from the aging poplar trees. There was almost a sense of relief when a late snowstorm dropped a layer of white, as Mum would now say, snow covers a multitude of sins. In this case, things that were where they didn't belong. Managing my own yard, I have taken on some of Mum's standards. Fortunately, the farm dogs of my youth were free range, and we never had to pick up the dog droppings. Not so in my world. As careful as I thought I was all winter about conscientious pickup duties, there has been more than one foray in my backyard scoop and bag in hand. I truly appreciate the companionship of my dog's dog, and so this is not a despicable task. The snowpack in my backyard was intense, slow to melt, leaving that mold discoloring the area. Articles that I've read lately encourage leaving the lawn unraked until the little critters have time to hatch, emerge, migrate, whatever. I take that as a reason, not an excuse, to delay my raking and mowing. What the retreating snow has revealed is no surprise. The north side of Railway Street has been used as an unofficial garbage dump. Sadly, there are boxes and bags of garbage littering the area, and now the crows are attacking and dispersing the contents. It is unsightly and makes me sad that folks can be so thoughtless. Another not a surprise is that the lovely little cedars planted at the entrance to the trail at the northeast corner of the cemetery have been completely stripped by deer. When I saw the choice of the shrub planted, I thought it would have been easier and more economical to drop off a bale or two rather than the expense and effort of cedars. Even in the well-setted area, folks protect their cedars from deer. A lesson for next time? The loss of snow clover also revealed which trees newly planted in the cemetery have a flavor of bark that deer really appreciate. Don't get me started on how many of the shaped evergreens that were moved to the back 40 haven't made the transition. And I'm just an amateur gardener. Enough of a rant. I am thankful for the wonderful trails that allow me to walk in safety. I'm thankful for the time and care our community devotes to making the area as purty as possible. The Gladstone Cattle Market Report by Tyler Slowinski. A cool, general rain is crucial for kickstarting the growing season, although it does create a few of its own challenges. Calves are chilled by the cool rains, and those soft spots in the corral may have just become impassable. Whatever comes our way, we always take the pros with the cons and deal with these solutions as best we can. Spring is definitely in the air, and the countdown to moving cattle to grass is on. The market this week trended with mixed feelings. The cattle futures were green, yet steady, to start the week off. Replacement quality heifers and lighter cattle still haven't shown much weakness. The trim market, which your cows and bulls fit into, is at an all-time high. The cow and bull market hasn't given any indication of softening just yet, especially as overall slaughter numbers start to soften. Supply and demand is definitely supporting the cattle market at this time. We sold 1,483 cattle through the ring in Gladstone on April 16th. The market saw a variety of cattle. The market seemed slightly stronger in most spots, but was fairly steady for the most part. In some cases, certain weight breaks trended softer, which made for a mixed outlook. The first cut cattle are becoming few and far between and are still in high demand. Second and third cut cattle are definitely showing signs of pressure, but are still bringing plenty more than they did 1 year ago. Cows and bulls traded with plenty of strength from 150 to 166, with sales to 170, showing stronger average. Bulls traded with power ranging between 190 to 205, with sales to 213. All classes of cattle sold well. Plainer type cattle are still being discounted. Some market highlights from today's sale: black steers weighed 425, brought 458. A local set of black-hided steers weighed 508 and brought 434.50. Crossbred steers weighed 612 and traded for 412. And a big set of black steers weighed 718 and they brought 376 per pound. Heifers, black heifers, weighed 409 and brought 436. A set of crossbred heifers that weighed 506 and they fetched 401. Crossbred heifers weighed 600 for 360. And a liner load of buckskin heifers that weighed 782 and they brought 317. And a letters to the editor. Would be bereft without the CBC. In response to Lenora Buffy's letter on the rule of thumb on the April 12th edition of the Neepawa Banner and Press, I found this letter very thought-provoking, and I certainly agreed with a number of her statements. However, I disagree with her statement that we don't need or want the CBC. There are so many interesting programs on the CBC. I'm referring to the radio programming here, and I have not come across on other radio stations that I would be bereft if the CBC was shut down. I listen to it while I'm cooking, while I'm doing dishes, while knitting, driving, and even folding laundry. There are programs on science, book reviews, music, and movie reviews, events that happen throughout the world and that are not necessarily tied to politics, but are more general interest events. A debate program, which is usually quite funny, a program on advertising, also generally pretty amusing, and a program that free ranges in all kinds of ideas. And there are more unusual programs, like the one about other people's favorite podcasts. There are programs for the drive to work and home again, and that explore local city events too, with driving and road information as well as weather info. Yes, there are also news programs, but most mainstream media programs report exactly the same stories with the same general information. It's not the CBC news programs that I'm talking about here. We need a Canadian station, and I think the CBC does a good job of exploring a wide range of subjects from a Canadian mindset. Having said that, I have also noted that the really good news journalists can add in their own thoughts on world issues that aren't always in lockstep with the current government in power. The journalists' thoughts are presented in subtle ways, and it can be easy to miss them. I'm always delighted when their thoughts show up, though. It's reassuring that we still have journalists who can think for themselves. I'm quite happy that some of my tax dollars are spent on keeping we Canadians connected to one another through the CBC. Respectfully, from Debbie Ott in Glenella. And Out of Helen's Kitchen by Helen Drysdale. Asparagus. Asparagus. There's no denying that spring and this delightful green veggie go hand in hand. Asparagus is a perennial vegetable belonging to the lily family. Asparagus is believed to be to the Mediterranean in Asia Minor, where it grew wild along the riverbanks. Asparagus is a shoot with ancient history going back as far as the 1st century. Over 2,000 years ago, Egyptians cultivated asparagus. They even depicted this on Egyptian tombs dating from 400 BC. The Greeks and Romans prized asparagus for its distinctive flavor, texture, and perceived medicinal qualities. They ate it fresh when in season and dried in winter. The oldest known recipe for preparing asparagus appeared in a cookbook of De Re Culinaire, a collection of Roman cooking recipes compiled in the 9th century. In the 15th century, French monks learned how to cultivate asparagus. It soon spread to other neighboring countries. Asparagus roots were brought to America by European settlers in the early 1650s. The plant adapted to its new conditions and has now been growing in North American gardens ever since. Asparagus now grows throughout the world. The largest producers are China, Peru, Mexico, Germany, and the US. In Canada, farmers sold a record high $48.7 million worth of asparagus in 2022, almost double the sales from one decade earlier. Ontario grows the most asparagus, with Quebec and British Columbia trailing behind. Asparagus is not only rich in vitamin A, but equally rich in vitamin C, K, E, the B vitamins, calcium, magnesium, and zinc, and a very good source of dietary fiber. It is a dieter's dream with only 35 calories per cupful. To prepare fresh asparagus, bend the stalk until it snaps. The upper portion from the break will be the tender stem, whereas the lower part will be tougher. Asparagus can be cooked in many ways: roasted, grilled, steamed, boiled, and sautéed. Generally speaking, thicker spears are better for roasting, grilling, and stir-frying. I enjoy asparagus in salads. Drop the asparagus into boiling water and blanch for 1 to 2 minutes. Transfer to the ice water for 1 minute, then drain. Put it into your favorite salads. And she's included a couple of recipes here: ginger asparagus pork stir-fry and oven-baked asparagus. RCMP report: arrests made in spree of local vandalisms, by Sergeant David Taggart of the Spruce Plains RCMP. In the month of March, the Spruce Plains RCMP had 189 occurrences. There was vandalism to several garbage and recycling bins in Neepawa. A youth was charged in connection to the damaged bins. As well, he investigated vandalism to the bathrooms at the flats. 2 youth were arrested and their charges were diverted to the Restorative Justice Committee. On March 10th, one of our officers was on the passenger side of a truck speaking with the occupants who were illegally parked on Main Street in Neepawa when a truck traveling eastbound hit the driver's side door mirror of the parked car. The careless driver was pulled over and found to be intoxicated. The driver was arrested and charged for impaired driving. On March 18th, we had a 2-car motor vehicle collision on Main Street in Neepawa, turn off to Veterans Way. We have had other complaints about drivers at this location. These other complaints had to do with people passing on the shoulder of the road. It is an offense, Section 1151 of the Highway Traffic Act, to pass a vehicle on the shoulder of the road. The fine for passing on the shoulder of the road is $203. Speeder of the month. The speeder of the month was a 28-year-old driver from Calgary, traveling 161 kilometers an hour in a 100 zone through the RM of Minto Adana. Anti-fraud trip, prize scam. Scammers will contact you and tell you that have won a prize or lottery. They will contact you through email, mail, telephone, website pop-ups, or social media. If you respond, the scammers will tell you that before receiving any winnings, you must pay an advance fee or buy something. The scammer may request payment through a money service such as Western Union or MoneyGram, or request that you provide prepaid gift cards. No winnings are ever received. There are variations on the prize scam. Sometimes they'll be claiming to represent Reader's Digest or Publishers Clearinghouse. The scammer will tell you that you need to pay a small fee to cover taxes, legal fees, or delivery costs. For more information on other frauds and scams, visit the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre. And science and fun in Western Manitoba. Brookdale students attend annual science fair and share project details. Pictured above are Mila Sumner, grade 5, and Liam Dennis, grade 7, just two of many students in the area who attended the Western Manitoba Science Fair. And bottom left, the students enjoyed entertainment from the Bubble Man during the lunchtime break at the fair. By Casper Warren. It was an exciting time for students in Western Manitoba on April 9th. This is because of the 2024 edition of the Western Manitoba Science Fair was being hosted at Brandon University. Each year, the science fair welcomes a plethora of young, inquisitive minds to present their scientific projects and findings for the chance to bring home medals, special awards, and even go on to compete at a national level. It's always such a great day to see the hard work that the students have put in. Listening to them present, you can tell how passionate they are about what they have done. And every year we get to see unique projects. We're excited to host them, said Robin Forsman, WMSF Committee Judging Chair. No matter if you win a medal or not, it's just such a great day to meet other scientists, learn, and visit the university. This year, 56 students from the Beautiful Plains School Division were in attendance, 40 from Neepawa, 10 from Brookdale, and 6 from Fairway Colony. The Neepawa Banner and Press had the opportunity to speak with some of the Brookdale School WMSF attendees, gathering information on their projects. The first was Axel Osborne, grade 4 student and first-time attendee. My project was cardboard mechanics. I made an elevator with pulleys that goes up and down, and the elevator part you go into. I made it out of Lego, said Osborne. I was trying to find out how an elevator can help in every day. Grade 5 student, Mila Sumner, a 2-time attendee, put forward Thump Thump, a study which measured the heart rate of individuals when reading a physical book or listening to an audio book. I was trying to find out if a paper book would make your heart rate go down more, if you would feel more calm reading a book or listening to the audiobook, said Sumner, adding, I was pretty nervous when presenting, but it was really neat to see everyone's projects. I came home with a bronze medal from grade 5 to 6, too. Fellow grade 5er and repeat attendee Abby Zubert knew all about how to keep it cool at the provincial fair. Her project conducted tests on which water bottles would keep water the coldest. I used Stanley, Hydro Flask, and Yeti, said Evans. I found that the Stanley and the Yeti worked the best. Surprising results. Liam Dennis, a student in grade 7 and 3-time attendee, was particularly ecstatic to share about his project. This is because Energy Conservation 2024 turned up surprising results. The project used a model built around the idea of using a biotag, a canvas tarp of sorts that is placed over a trailer or house to prevent the wind from taking heat and thus energy away from the structure. With the biotag over the house, it saved 133% more electricity compared to the house without the biotag over it. So it saved a considerable amount of electricity, said Dennis. My hypothesis was going to be 30 to 40%. Dennis added, I came out with a gold medal and I also got an award from Prairie Electric and the Brandon Chamber. Abby Zubert from grade 6, 2-time attendee, presented a project called Destination Fermentation. It was all about seeing what kind of water, cold, room temperature, and hot, would make a balloon rise or fill up with CO2 gas the fastest and highest, said Zubert. Connor May of grade 8 has attended the fair both virtually and in person, with this year being his 3rd physical attendance. May's focus was on sound, both beneficial and detrimental. My project was decibels of distraction. The goal was to find out what genres of music are either the most helpful or the most distracting. So I got people to do a simple test with different noises in the background for each trial, May explained. He added, I got a bronze medal and the special award for behavioral sciences. It was really nice to receive them because I don't usually win much at science fairs. This was my 2nd time winning a medal. I got a silver in the previous year as well. In terms of the overall experience, each student agreed that the WMSF was an intriguing, fun, and beneficial experience. It was awesome. It was great seeing so many interesting projects. And it was great to be back since we are unable to go during COVID-19, said Dennis. Zubert echoed the sentiment, stating, "It was really nice experience to be there again, and I hope I can go there again next year. Maybe I'll win a medal or something." The fair wasn't all work, however. Students also enjoyed entertainment such as the Bubble Man, university tours, a button-making station, and socializing, making new friends. Every time I'm next to somebody, they start out as a stranger, and then by the end of it, I know them so well, May enthused. The Banner and Press wishes all students good luck with their future projects. And it's almost time for a round of golf. NGCC shooting for an April 26 opening by Owen Devereaux. And pictured is the entrance to the Neepawa Golf and Country Club. The long winter wait for local golfers is almost over as the Neepawa Golf and Country Club, NGCC, is finalizing its reopening schedule for the season. As long as the weather conditions over the next few weeks are cooperative, the local course is optimistic it will be able to open by April 26, NCGC's general manager and CPGA golf pro, Landon Cameron, said that their current plan is for all 18 holes to be playable. We do have to do some repairs from last fall's irrigation renovation, but that should take place in the next week to 10 days, stated Cameron. As well, the next couple of weeks will include getting the pro shop operational and Mark Kirkowicz and the grounds crew getting the course cut and spruced up. The spring is definitely very important on their end in getting the greens prepared and the fairways cut. But they're working diligently to get that completed and get the course looking in peak form for opening day. Cameron noted there are some new features to be excited about, including the new fleet of Easy Go golf carts and the completed installation of a new irrigation system. A standard automatic irrigation system for a golf and country club usually delivers a uniform amount of water to specific areas of a course. Cameron said its installation will free up time for the grounds crew to put more of their attention into other course maintenance and upgrades. The watering of the course will become a night job for the system, and during the daytime, the guys concentrate on stuff that's more important for the playability of the golf course. The current date planned for the full restaurant to be operational is May 15th. Beverage and sandwich services, however, will be ready to go before the middle of next month. As for the membership numbers, Cameron said that so far they've been pretty consistent with previous years. Those interested in booking single rounds will be able to do so soon, as the online tee sheet will go live as soon as Neepawa Golf officials as announced. The information can be found at www.neepawagolf.com. And on to sports. Neepawa Titans host development camp to evaluate future projects. And pictured, the Yellowhead Arena closed out its on-ice schedule with the annual Neepawa Titans Spring Development Camp. Young players hoping to earn themselves a second look at the fall training camp attended the event. The Titans coaching staff, as well as veteran players, ran the prospects through a variety of drills to gauge their fitness and skill on the ice. And the photo is by Owen Devereaux. And Pearson signs contract extension with Neepawa Titans. Head coach, general manager, takes on additional role with the hockey club by Owen Devereaux. Effective immediately, Neepawa Titans head coach and general manager, Ken Pearson, is going to need to update his business cards. On Monday, April 15th, the Junior A Hockey Club announced that it has come to terms with Pearson on a new 2-year contract extension. The financial terms of the deal have not been disclosed. As part of this new agreement, Pearson will take on some additional responsibilities, with him becoming the team's director of business and hockey operations. That job involves a variety of off-ice administrative responsibilities meant to improve the program and ensure the long-term viability of the franchise. In a press release announcing the extension, Pearson said, "I am very excited to continue to make Neepawa home and continue to lead the progress of the organization both on and off the ice." Hicks extended as well. Another announcement made by the Neepawa Titans confirmed the return of Zach Hicks, who has advanced to the position of associate coach. Some of Hicks' new responsibilities include player preparedness, development of practice plans, and review of game footage. Zach will also work with Pearson to ensure that the team is very active in the community. Hicks said via media release that he was very excited to take on more responsibility within the organization. An exciting 2 years ahead. Team president Jamie Denbo said coming to terms with both Pearson and Hicks is a positive step forward for the Titans and should ensure stability for the organization. Speaking on behalf of the board, we are very proud of Pearson's coaching accomplishments and applaud his desire to add head office responsibilities for the team. We made great strides forward in brand and have both momentum and a great core of players going into the 24-25 season. Having Kenny stay on in the captain's chair and transition some of his time to the marketing and finances of the team, while Zach increases his coaching responsibilities, is critical to maintaining momentum and building a long-term sustainable program in Neepawa, said Denbo. Ken Pearson was hired as head coach and general manager of the then Neepawa Natives back in 2019. In his most recent season as bench boss, the team accumulated its most regular season wins and total points, 28 wins and 57 points since 2010. They also made the MGHL playoffs for the first time since 2017. As for Hicks, he has been with the Titans organization since 2022. And Carberry to welcome Chris Broderick next week, the former Broncos assistant coach speaking at a wellness event. And pictured as Chris Broderick will be at the keynote speaker at the Path for Today Community Wellness event in Carberry on April 23rd. And this was admitted by Jolene Balcunas. Chris Broderick was born in Edmonton and raised in Calgary and St. Front, Saskatchewan. He is a father of 3 young girls, husband to his wife Rachel, and a 4th-generation farmer. Chris was an assistant coach with the 2017-18 Humboldt Broncos, who were tragically involved in the bus crash that killed 16 players and staff. Chris's life was forever changed on the day of the Humboldt Broncos bus crash. Since then, Chris has been heavily involved in the field of mental health and healing. He is trained under Dr. Gabor Mate, Don Miguel Ruiz, Lama Sonia Puti, and many others. On Tuesday, Chris will share his story and journey. His talk explores the human spirit's capacity to overcome adversity and foster growth, even when in the face of tragedy. It takes courage and vulnerability to discover what path is the right one for today, discovering and rediscovering what works for today, not tomorrow or yesterday. It is important wellness to build from. Speaking with Grady Stevenson, CAO for the town of Carberry, he expressed the importance of this event. With all the loss that our community has suffered over the years, it is something that I feel is a great need for the people in our community. Personally, following many personal events, as well as some significant events in my role as first responder last year, I burnt out and I needed a break. I took a 7-week leave from work in the fire department and started seeing a counselor. I was told that I was showing symptoms of post-traumatic stress and burnout. I was able to recognize this early due to my involvement in some mental health initiatives in our community and area, and want to share my story in hopes of encouraging others to reach out and do the same. Grady would also like to thank everyone that has helped bring this event together. Please join us on April 23rd at the Carberry Collegiate. Doors open and wellness fair starts at 6 p.m. and keynote speaker at 7 p.m. Breakout sessions to follow after keynote speaker session. Sleep and the effects of screen time on mental health. Managing your baseline. Learn about 9 to 8 to 8 support in Canada. This event is in collaboration with the town of Carberry and Carberry Collegiate, with support from Healthy New Prairie Mountain Health, Carberry and Area Community Foundation, Carberry and Area Chamber of Commerce, and the RM of North Cyprus Langford. And continuing. Carberry JV Basketball Report, again by Jolene Balcunas. Between March 7th and 9th, the Carberry Cougars junior varsity boys basketball team were in Winnipeg for the A/AA Provincial Championships. They started strong with a win over Margaret Barber from the PAW. The next day, they fell short to an extremely strong host team, Emmanuel Christian from Winnipeg. This positioned the Cougars into the bronze medal game, where they faced the Morris Mustangs. The Cougars won with a strong performance from numerous players. Coaches Chris Unruh and Ryan Robson are proud of the boys' hard work and dedication to challenging themselves to be better players, teammates, and young men. Thursday night saw skills competition in which 3 talented grade 9 Cougars, Jack Polasek, John Shepard, and Ethan Clark, won a speed dribbling contest. Players of the games went to Lyndon Whalen and Owen Unruh, ×2. Also, Owen Unruh received an All-Star Award from MHSAA. Congratulations to the Carberry Cougars JV boys basketball team on their provincial bronze medal win. Monday, March 11th, saw the boys back in action for their final game of the season. They faced Neepawa for the zone banner. It was an intense game with both teams playing their best and fans from both sides showing some loud support. After 40 minutes of play, the Cougars came out on top to win the banner. After receiving the zone banner, the boys honored Xander Campbell's death with a presentation of a provincial bronze medal and a plaque. And another picture from the Burning Clean at Neepawa, an alternate view of the controlled burn that was conducted by the Neepawa Volunteer Fire Department on the evening of April 15th, which was featured on page 1. This is one of the regularly scheduled annual burns conducted by the Neepawa Fire Department in preparation for spring. The Breaker 16 Demo Day tours indoors. Blustery weather didn't dampen enthusiasm, by Joel Asselstein. And pictured, Breaker 16, pictured right, located just east of Neepawa, hosted a demo day on April 11th. Pictured left, volunteers from Hope's Journey Home, Carissa Isaac left, and Mary Penner Wright, who were on the scene providing lunch for all. And after 5 at Breaker 16, Breaker 16 was host to a Neepawa District Chamber of Commerce Business After 5 event on April 11th. The event welcomed all interested guests through its doors. As part of the event, a few other groups and businesses were invited to set up a table in the rental spaces for the evening. Some of those were the West Toba Credit Union, Top Photo, conversing with fellow attendees, and Westman Communication Group, above photos showing Eduardo King Wright and Ronaldo de Guzman had left. On Thursday, April 11th, Breaker 16's Demo Day was not only a success in terms of industry connections and innovation, but also in drawing in the community, with industry leaders in the construction sector like Hilti and Bissett showing off new and innovative tools to help laborers in efficiency and safety, as well as showing off soon-to-be-released tools like Bissett's new cordless framing nailer. The event featured a delicious lunch provided by Hope's Journey Home, a Christ-centered home offering solutions for women in crisis pregnancies. This thoughtful gesture added a meaningful touch to the day, showcasing Breaker 16's commitment to supporting important causes and making a positive impact upon the business realm. While the event was originally supposed to be outside, concerns of the wind and cloud coverage had the event inside, Breaker 16's new edition. And that concludes the reading of the Neepawa Banner and Press for Friday, April 19th. I hope you enjoyed it.